I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psychhacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is why women get ghosted. Yes, women can and do get ghosted. In today's episode, I'm going to explain why this happens and what women can do to reduce the likelihood that it will happen to them. First and foremost, however, I cannot pour into a full cup. Many women already believe they know why men ghost them. However, this explanation doesn't really accord with the facts, so I'll need to address this perspective before I can move forward with my counter-hypothesis. So, just what is this erroneous belief? You probably know it. Many women believe that they are more likely to get ghosted if they put out too soon. That is, they believe that a man will not see her as a long-term prospect if they sleep together on the first or second date. So they put up obstacles in the path of the men they really like, that is, the men they see as long-term providers, so they are not disqualified as wifey material, irrespective of how she may have behaved with men in the past. And I'm here to tell you, ladies, that this is just not true. There are vanishingly few men who will see receiving access to your body as a negative. That's why they're there. If they weren't attracted to you, if they weren't desirous of initiating a sexual relationship with you, they would not have assumed the trouble and the risk and the expense of asking you out and executing the date. Women shame men's sexual attraction to them to their own detriment. Don't believe me? Just consider what the men who don't want to fuck you are offering. Like, what are they doing for you? Are they trying to spend time with you? Are they listening to your stories? Are they buying you drinks and dinners? You might complain that they are only doing these things because they want to get laid, but where are the men who don't want to fuck you? Like, where are they? Kind of hard to find them, right? Something to consider. I personally know of many successful long-term relationships that very quickly became sexual. And why would this be surprising? Men, just like women, prefer to spend their time in relationships where they get more of what they want and less of what they don't. As I've said before, the best attitude for a woman to adopt on a date is to manifest a high good times to hassle ratio. The more fun and pleasant and engaging the woman is, and the fewer problems or difficulties or stressful interactions she creates, the more likely that woman is going to get a repeat customer. That said, as previously stated, women can be and are discarded after sex. And this can be an emotionally painful experience for them. However, to blame the sex would be wrong. That's just a scapegoat. There are typically 3 reasons why this occurs, 2 of which I'm going to gloss over here today. Namely, A, she does not offer a good time. That is, she's boring, self-centered, defensive, arrogant, structured, etc. And B, she does not understand that now that the sexual relationship has been initiated, the burden of effort has shifted onto her. I want to devote the rest of this episode to discussing the 3rd reason, as it's a great way of appreciating how negotiation occurs in the context of sexual relationships. As I discuss in my book, all relationships progress through 3 distinct phases: attraction, negotiation, and maintenance. However, most people misunderstand this second phase. In sexual relationships, the vast majority of negotiation does not occur consciously and explicitly. It occurs behaviorally, as both parties tacitly agree on the cost of a particular woman's sexual opportunity. Remember, all men pay. But the more she likes you, the greater the discount. I'll begin by offering a more extreme example so that we can perceive this behavioral negotiation more clearly before applying it to intersexual relationships more generally. If you appreciate the insights on this channel, I would highly encourage you to get your hands on a copy of my book, The Value of Others. Over the course of 432 pages, I delve deep into my economic model of relationships and explain the behavior of both men and women in the game of mating and dating. I also provide a lot of actionable advice on how to get and keep more of what you want in the sexual marketplace. Once you read The Value of Others, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Now available in ebook, audiobook, and paperback formats. The links are in the description. Let's get to it. The more a woman is attracted to a man, the more smooth and effortless she makes the courtship process. She is available, she is flexible, she is happy to be there, etc. On the other hand, when a woman is not very attracted to a given man, but may potentially see him as a long-term provider, then she tends to make the same process much more difficult. She is flaky, she is disrespectful, and she presents a number of emotional or behavioral challenges, commonly known as shit tests online, that the man must pass through to access her sexual opportunity. Most frustrating of all, she tends to enforce certain relationship rules on these men and to punish men for their sexual attraction. Oh, I never hook up on the first date. What kind of girl do you think I am? Are you only looking for sex? Etc., etc. But here's the thing. These men are already sexually attracted to these women. Remember, that's why they're there. And the more he waits, the more he pays, the more hoops he jumps through, the more pot committed he becomes to his goal of accessing these women sexually. Now, these women might think, good, I'm not just giving this away. Fair enough. But this attitude comes with one significant liability. Namely, the men in question no longer like these women, but they still want to fuck them. These men don't like you anymore because you've made the courtship process so difficult and expensive and all about you, but they're kind of trapped in a sunken cost fallacy. They believe the only way to redeem the expense they've already incurred is to keep paying. Once they actually get laid, they believe that they'll be recompensed for all their emotional labor. Now, at this point, I should note that I encourage men in this position to cut their losses and walk away. The sunken cost fallacy, after all, is a fallacy for a reason. Walking away protects the misallocation of future resources. It doesn't redeem resources already expended. Nothing can really do that. By the same token, I advise women not to go out with men they're not actively interested in sleeping with. As I've said before, a date is emotional connection plus the opportunity of sex. If the opportunity is off the table, then the woman is in some manner of bad faith. She's misguided at best and exploitative at worst. Anyway, it can be the case that many of these women do continue to date these men and do eventually initiate sexual relationships with them, albeit less out of authentic desire and more out of a strategic attempt to ensure the continued flow of resources. However, once the sexual relationship begins in earnest, men perform a kind of covert calculus in which they compute the total expense of this sexual opportunity. That is, they add up all the time and effort and money and emotion and difficulty and bullshit that they had to expend or endure, and this becomes the negotiated cost of that particular woman's sexual opportunity for them, which he has now had a chance to experience, the quality and quantity of which he can now more accurately judge. This is how women get ghosted after sex. As this computation is the actual transacted cost of that sexual opportunity, this total expense is now anchored in a man's mind, whether he's aware of it or not. And the next time he's desirous of sex, which, remember, is why men go through the risk and effort and expense of asking women out, and he sees that woman's name in his phone, he's going to think, why fucking bother? I've had sex with her, and those 20 minutes weren't worth waiting 2 weeks, listening to her complain about her work for several hours, being interrogated with respect to my intentions, made to feel ashamed, spending several hundreds of dollars on dates, and pretending to find her interesting. That's just too much. There's got to be another woman out there who isn't so damn expensive. Hard pass. He remembers all the tests and hoops and costs on the one hand, and the actual reality, as opposed to the fantasy, which is almost always better, of the sexual opportunity. And he makes a rational, albeit largely unconscious, value judgment. And that's how women get ghosted. It's not because of the sex. In some cases, that could be the only positive outweighing all the other negatives. It's because of all the bullshit they decided the sex had to come with. Real talk. Women get ghosted after sex when they make getting the sex so difficult, painful, or expensive that men no longer think it's worth it to engage with them again. But here's the thing. This phenomenon still occurs in the context of relationships where the woman is very attracted to the man and sex occurs fairly quickly. That is, the man undergoes the same unconscious calculus to determine the transacted value of that sexual opportunity for him. It's just that these men are anchored at a different price point. That is, when men are attractive and high value, they routinely engage with attracted women for sexual relationships. So they are used to getting things fairly cheaply. And this means that even slight increases in incurred costs may be detrimental to the woman's long-term prospects. You can charge more from people who are used to paying more, not so from people who are used to paying less. And that's why I argue that a woman's best bet is to offer the richest, creamiest milk she can, high good times, with as little difficulty or friction as she can muster, low hassle. These women do not get ghosted. And remember, ladies, the more attractive the man, the lower the margin of error here. Something to consider. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its message. I know you know somebody. I know you know somebody who needs to hear this, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. I have a few other value propositions. Anyone looking to join my free weekly newsletter, for which I write original content, or book a paid one-on-one consultation with yours truly, can find out more on my website. There's also my best-selling book, The Value of Others, in which I explore my model for sexual relationships, and my private member community, The Captain's Quarters, where I host live, bi-monthly group consultation calls and Q&As with invited guests from all over the internet. It's a great group. Check it out if you are so inclined. The links to everything are in the description below. As always, I appreciate your support, and thank you for listening.